Well, hello folks and welcome back. I've been a bit busy this last couple of weeks, but I have now actually made a start getting these tables cleared, ready for full cleaning and marking out the planning of the final layout. I've been sorting out the rolling stock. Obviously the more expensive stuff I don't want knocking around for obvious reasons, so I've moved a fair amount out to the secure storage. Okay, it might cost a little bit, but I think it's worth it in the end. But I only want to keep here the older stock and the bare minimum I need to actually run trains on the layout at any one time. It can be swapped around as necessary. But yes, I had hoped to do a bit more for this week, but something happened during the week and I got another delivery. Before we get to that, I just want to say thank you to all the subscribers out there. I don't particularly worry too much about numbers. They don't earn me any money. I'll never ask for money for this channel. But we are heading towards the 900 mark now, and it might be nice to get to 1,000. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you like what you see, please click that like button. And if you want to subscribe, it don't cost you anything. You don't even have to watch the videos half the time, but clicking that subscribe helps my pathetic attempts at videos to get recommended to more people round and about. So, yes, please do that if you feel like it. I have spoken about KR models before, and I've been quite lucky in that the models that I have had from them haven't had any problems, although I know quite a few have. My main beef was when the leader came out. I didn't get mine before the shops did, and having bought and paid for it 4 years previously, I was really annoyed. I am not going to order any more models from KR on that basis. I'd rather put a pre-order in with Rails of Sheffield, because they always get a quantity for retail. That way I don't have to pay for it until it arrives. However, in the meantime, there were two other things that I subscribed to with KR because they're so unique. I wanted to make sure I got them, and I couldn't necessarily guarantee that Rails would sell them, although they are selling this particular model now. But there you go. So let's give you a bit of a background. As I say, I've been waiting. I paid for this probably about 3 years ago in instalments, and it cost a lot of money, which is why I didn't go for the DCC sound version. I have gone for the DCC fitted version. Now, in 1938, Oliver Bulleid succeeded Mansell as the chief mechanical engineer of the Southern Railway. And as many of you will know, although my layout is going to be on a former Great Western branch, as it were, I do have a soft spot for some things on the southern area, particularly because I was a child in Hastings, and a lot of the things that are being brought out now were things that I was familiar with when I was growing up and that I'd seen. But not only that, Bulleid was a great innovator, and he was many years before his time with the technology. So I felt it important that I have a little mini collection of stuff that Bulleid designed. I've still got one more item to get. One of the things he was famous for was these Firth Brown Bulleid, or Bulleid Firth Brown wheels, which had the solid backs to them. And the Light Pacifics had them, and what I'm about to show you today has them. And also, not a lot of people know that he designed a diesel shunter. Now, we're all familiar with the 08s, and I suppose every layout they would say should have one. I will not be going for the 08. I'm going to go for the Class 12, as it became known, because that was first designed by Oliver Bulleid before the Second World War. But it wasn't till after the war that the design was perfected and that the Southern had quite a few delivered. They look very similar to the 08s, and the 08s I think were a sort of a polite copy of them afterwards, although I think there are probably those who disagree. But it looks like Bulleid got there first, and even they're fitted with BFB wheels. But anyway, I digress. After the war, commuter traffic to London increased dramatically, and the powers that be wanted ways to try and get more capacity of the trains getting into London. And so in 1948, as it passed to British Railways, Bulleid was asked if he could come up with something that would increase the footfall of people going into London. And so he came up with 2 4-car electric multiple units of a very unique design. I read with interest that Eurostar is going to order double-deck trains, proper double-deck trains, one level on top of the other, which will be the first time they've ever run in the UK, only because the line has been built, HS1, to that gauge. Bulleid had to go within the existing gauge or a couple of inches within it. So he came up with the 4DD unit, as we now know them, of which 2 motor cars survive, and they're in preservation at Sellinge in Kent. And that is a photograph. I hope they won't mind me showing you. I am demonstrating something that's just come as a delivery, so I don't think there's any problem with copyright in that respect. But that's what the job they're doing at Sellinge, and I think it's a first-class job. This particular unit, as you can see, slab front, just like the 4 subunits. However, it was very, very slightly taller and very, very slightly wider. It just about managed to fit into the British standard loading gauge. Now, the problem with that was they had to leave out handrails on the doors outside and running boards for people to help step on and off the train. So there were a lot of problems with accidents and trips and falls and what have you. Now, in terms of capacity, these trains could handle 122 more passengers than a standard 4-car suburban unit like the old 4 sub. And they did it, you can see this, there weren't so much extra compartments as alternating compartments, and you can see one on the ground, one up there. And so how they did it was, starting from this end, you would walk in and there'd be 6 seats on the left, 5 on the right, and in the middle would be a staircase to the upper compartment. And in the upper compartment there were 6 seats facing you, 5 obviously because the steps come up in this between, and unusually a tip down seat by each window, because you could get an extra couple of people up there. As you can see, it's very unusual design, and these models are quite heavy. And in the front here, I think what I'll do is I'll bring the camera down a little bit. There you can see, although they're rather dark, looks very much like a standard 4 subunit. But there in the middle is the destination, and initially these had the standard stencils like the rest of the southern multiple units did, until eventually replaced by blinds. I've chosen to go with a model that has the old stencil design. So that's a motor car. They are very well wrapped, I have to say. Here is a trailer car. I don't know whether you can see the design of it inside. I think I can get away with showing you. Oh, sorry about that noise. That's my class 124 with the automatic diesel multiple unit noise. As soon as it detects any movement, it starts up. Now, let's see if I can. Yes, there's how can I do this? Hopefully there you can see it. You walk into the compartment here, and on the right as you walk in, if you get in this side, there's the steps to go up, and there's another compartment at the top. They had sort of forced air heating and ventilation upstairs because you couldn't really have opening windows. And after the bogies and the driving trailers, driving motor cars had to be redesigned slightly. Once that was done, the units were actually technically quite a success, but of course, as you can imagine, the extra length of time it took for people to get on and off, and there were worries about security and things like that. What it meant was that it took too long, and the object of creating higher capacity within the same dwell times, it was really blown out the window. And because they were ever so slightly bigger than the others, it worked out there was only one line that they could be worked on, Charing Cross to Dartford. So for almost their whole working life, they ran a diagram from Charing Cross to Dartford and back. And I used to see them as a kid when I was travelling into London for our summer and Christmas treats. Surprisingly, they outlasted Oliver Bulleid. He died in 1970. These units were finally withdrawn in 1971. But of course, I know you want to see it running, so give me a few moments and I'll see what I can do. Well, if you thought my introduction was long enough, it's about half an hour or more, if not more, later now. I have had to wrestle with this unit. Couldn't understand why it kept derailing. When I looked at the track more carefully, in order to get the circuit to fit the board, I had fitted a couple of second radius curves in the mix, and this unit, like some of my other locomotives, does not like anything less than third radius curves. So I have had to very quickly rebuild the curve, and in some places it's even hanging a quarter of an inch off the board. So the running will be very slow today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the light out because I think that's the best way to see it. We're going to pretend that the driver's just coming on duty, and he's forgotten to put the stencil in for the route code. So he's just come in and he's just put that on. He's in his cab now. So, and he's ready to turn the turn that on. Okay. Now he's going to turn the lights on the train, and there we are. It's, as you can see when it goes by, it's going to be going by very slowly today, like I said, but whoops daisy, that's not the way I want it to go. Stop. That's better. I'm over here in the dark, I can't really see what I'm doing, I'm going by feel. Hopefully as it goes by you'll be able to see how the alternate alternating compartments work, one upstairs and one downstairs. Actually, this is probably a better speed for you to be able to see the thing. Round this side at least it's even making the old clickety-clack noise. I'm not sure that I dare knock it up a notch, but we'll try. What's disappointing is for the money I paid there are no tail lights, but then of course in those days when it was built there weren't any tail lights. We literally had to put tail lamp on the back, I would think. There seem to be brackets for it. Anyway, while it stopped there, which I've deliberately stopped it there for you, I'm hoping that I can bring this round so that can we actually see into the compartments here. Let's have a look and see if we can. Because the seats and everything are quite well replicated in here. I don't know if you can, well that's got a light in that one, but perhaps not the best of ideas, but anyway, if I turn the light back on now, you can get a better idea as you look at that. I'll just run it the other way a couple of times. I say a couple of teething problems, but hopefully they can be resolved. The important thing is this is a unique model of a unique piece of British rolling stock, the likes of which haven't been seen before and will never be seen again, but at least we have two carriages of a unit that have been preserved. It would be nice to think they could be restored to running order, but somehow I think they're destined just to be hauled by a diesel loco. Yeah, as I thought, it's hit a snag somewhere. Not sure where, but I think we're going to have to say for today, rain has stopped play. that's a bit of a disappointment. It's the track's fault, I think, rather than anything else. It was second-hand track to start with. Once I get my brand new stuff set up, we should be a bit smoother. Excuse me. Anyway, next time, hopefully, we will have a bit of a bare board, and I can begin to sort of play around with the kind of track layouts and station layout that I would like. Start maybe getting one or two buildings up and seeing where the land lies anyway. So I don't anticipate any more rolling stock deliveries before then. So after another rubbish video, I will wish you all well and see you next time.